Sikkim is a landlocked Indian state nestled in the eastern Himalayas. With about 7,000 square kilometers, it is one of the smallest states in India. Sikkim's tiny size belies the profound diversity it offers. The state has the steepest rise in altitude, from about 300 meters to 8,500 meters over the shortest distance. It has a broad climatic range, from tropical to temperate to alpine. The state has approximately 600,000 inhabitants. Their main occupation is farming. Many of the farmers are cardamom growers, and Sikkim has the highest production and largest cultivated area of large cardamom worldwide. Sikkim is situated in the Himalaya Biodiversity Hotspot, one of 3 in India. The region is extremely rich and diverse in flora and fauna. It is home to approximately 4,500 species of flowering plants and 500 species of rare orchids.
We are trapped in between 2 great mountain ranges and the Tibetan Plateau to the north, and we open to the plains from below. So that makes us a kind of horseshoe where species can really not go easily in and out. And that is what has led to a lot of kind of endemism and other issues within this small area of 7,096 square kilometers, where we have got different kinds of mountains ranges, right from high altitudes to really low altitudes. And in each of this, it's like an accordion pushed together with the Himalayas rising up. And different levels of altitude with different species is what makes us so rich in not only macro and micro biodiversity, domesticated and wild, indigenous and exotic. So it's really a microcosm of the entire biodiversity of Eastern Himalayas and India.
The mountains, their glaciers, and the forests of Sikkim deliver important services that go even beyond the state's boundaries. The glaciers feed the many rivers. The forests capture rainwater, prevent landslides and soil erosion. The ecosystem of Sikkim even has spiritual functions for Buddhism, which was introduced in this region as early as the 9th century. Little is known about the vulnerability of mountain ecosystems to climate change. Scientists expect that the effects of climate change are likely to occur faster and to be more pronounced in the eastern Himalaya than on the global average. Climate change will have impacts on both environment and people in the eastern Himalaya. Any negative effect on the biodiversity will have effects on the ecosystem services of the region, and the well-being of people is at risk. The economy of Sikkim is largely agrarian, one of the most vulnerable sectors to climate variability and change. About 20% of the population in Sikkim lives below the poverty line. Climate change, biodiversity, ecosystem services, and livelihoods are closely connected. The question is how to protect biodiversity in time of climate change.
In the entire country a few years ago, we had done an exercise called the National Biodiversity Strategy and Action Plan. And through that project, we went to the village and we spoke to the villagers. We realized that almost every government department has a stake in biodiversity conservation, whether it is a power department, whether it is a road department, whether it is a rural management development department, the agriculture, animal husbandry, the khadi and the village industries, the government institute of cottage industries. Every government institution is actually involved in biodiversity conservation. The plus part is that we also have a strong political will, which is really helping. You know, the image of our political head of the state, the chief minister, as the greenest chief minister in the country, that has helped enormously in bringing in various environmental and developmental issues on a kind of common platform where we're not really compromising on environment to go in for development.
In recent years, the government of Sikkim has been promoting ecotourism. The small town of Yuksum in western Sikkim is known as a trekker's paradise. But trekkers carry boxes and bottles. They create waste, which negatively affects the environment. The Kanchenjunga Conservation Committee, a non-governmental organization, has introduced a zero-waste trek. At a biodiversity checkpoint, the trekkers have to list what types of potential waste they are carrying. Coming back from the trek, they will have to show the waste they have, which is then checked against what they carried when starting their trek.
For us, ecotourism means going to a natural area. It's not going to an artificial area. So one of the components of ecotourism is going to a natural area. That means biodiversity is very, very important. The other component of ecotourism also would be sharing a benefit. We feel that income coming from tourism should be shared among the larger section of the community. Benefit sharing is very, very important issue. If there's no benefit sharing, then there's no point for people to conserve nature or wildlife. Then if only few people are benefiting, the rest of the people will not care. So if there's larger people involved in tourism, larger people getting share in tourism, then people will start conserving those resources on which tourism depends. The third factor would be guest and host interaction. The ecotourism means visitors coming with a guide and just passing through a village, not talking to people. No. Then there should be guest and host interaction. People should go and talk to the local community. The last part of ecotourism for us would means community participation and conservation.
In addition to ecotourism, what else can be done in the future? During a workshop on the 13th of May 2010 in Sikkim's capital Gangtok, representatives from the local government, non-governmental organizations, and scientific institutions met to discuss climate change and the conservation of biodiversity. There was a consensus that biodiversity has to be maintained to enable the state to cope with the many challenges of climate change. Organic farming is to be promoted. The government of Sikkim has already set the objective that the Himalayan state is to become an organic state by 2015.
If the local population can use that traditional knowledge which they have inherited from their ancestors, whether it is in saving the seeds of their domestic crops, whether it is the medicinal plant in the garden which the house mother is using for her baby or for herself or for her family members, or using some spices which are available in the nearby forest areas. So this kind of traditional knowledge is there with the local people.
Participants suggested to do rainwater harvesting, to promote ecotourism, to discourage monoculture, and to rely on indigenous varieties of crops and traditional farming knowledge and practices. In addition, the government has established a Climate Change Council under the Chief Minister, as well as a climate cell within the Department of Science and Technology. The government will develop a state action plan on climate change, which is supported by German technical cooperation. Also in the future, the German Ministry for Economic Cooperation and Development will assist the northeastern region of India to adapt to climate change, thereby promoting the implementation of India's National Action Plan on Climate Change.
And when you find that international agencies are coming forward, it is because I feel that it's because they also they have a stake in conservation of biodiversity worldwide. And as important as the biodiversity of Sikkim is important to a Sikkimese, it is important to the international citizen.